Hello, everyone. It is my honor to introduce Daniel Edwards, a trailblazer in STEM education and recipient of 2024 Prime Minister Prize for Science Teaching in this primary schools. As a dedicated STEM teacher in Montello Primary School in Burnie, Tasmania, Daniel has developed innovative programs that has increased engagement and the achievements of the students over there. Daniel's commitment goes beyond the classroom as he's also the Chief Executive Officer of GreenSTEM Education, Tasmania's first STEM-focused charity, which strives to provide equitable access to STEM education for young people, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining me and accepting my invite over LinkedIn. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.
So yeah, my commitment or my attention towards STEM came from a few movies as I watched this, Alan Turing movies, Imitation Game, and some other great movies, which tells you that you have to be good in STEM education to strive in this modern day world. But for yourself, I would like to know that what was the basic motive which brought you towards this STEM education, and how has your journey led to your focus on initiatives over here in Tasmania?
Okay, yeah, no problem. So for me, it started, as long as I can remember, I've had a real passion for STEM, for science and technology, engineering and maths. So it goes right back to, growing up as a kid and working on electronics projects with dad and fixing cars. And those are some of my earliest and best memories. And that's followed on through school, and the opportunity in high school to do some coding, robotics, electronics, mechanics. And then as an educator, it's something I've always integrated. Going back to earlier in my career was more math, science, high school teaching. But the opportunity to take on to come back to work closer to home at Burnie, and then teaching back in a primary school, integrating more STEM opportunities as a general class teacher. And for us, that really started, I guess what really kicked us off down that path was at that time, back in 2018, Code Club had staff in each state, and they delivered professional learning. And it was a really pivotal moment for my career when Code Club left. They provided us free access to lots of resources, and they left us with a big storage container full of robots and other equipment. So I was really excited. And then from then, in my grade 5-6 class, I was consistently implementing STEM lessons, using robots in different things. And that led to us starting an after school Code Club not too long after that. So we ran that from 2019 until the end of 2023. And at that time, it was one of the largest and most active code clubs in Australia. We had over 70 students registered. So it's a pretty, for a school of 300 students and about 180 of them being old enough to participate in the after-school program, that's a pretty considerable percentage. So something that was, obviously been really great to be a part of. But then that led to the opportunity in 2021 with the opening of our makerspace, which was supported by Google Australia and Australian Schools Plus. To take on the STEM specialist role, which I started in 2021, and I've been working at Montello since then in that role. Over the last year, that's transitioned to more of a part-time role, shared between Montello and Parklands High School, which is the high school that we feed into. So, yeah, that's basically it over, I guess, what my involvement and journey in STEM education, but really passionate about making STEM accessible and engaging for all students that I work with. Burnie being out of regional and low socioeconomic area with high levels of unemployment, particularly youth unemployment. and low educational attainment, it's really important that all our young people are provided with the best opportunities possible.
Wonderfully, you articulated your journey so far, but I'm sure that there must have been quite a few roadblocks during that time all the way through. So you had always been a STEM teacher, or STEM has been understood as a subject or as a discipline in itself over there in Tasmania, Australia, or it is you were the one who had to go through kind of a process to instill the importance of this discipline moving forward for the kids, that how they take up their roles, whichever it is going to be in their practical life?
So probably a combination of different things. So I haven't always been a STEM specialist teacher. Most of my background before 2018 was a combination of different teaching roles, but started my career teaching in 2014. And for the majority, that was high school maths and science in a more of a typical, I guess, core curriculum focused approach. But from probably 2019, I really wanted to focus on specializing in STEM and creating that role. And at that time, that's something that not really many of our primary schools had somebody leading that as a curriculum area, as you mentioned. So to be able to, I guess, continue to develop programs and opportunities, and then having the Makerspace program, or the Makerspace project supported by Schools Plus, combination of different things that led to that opportunity to be the first STEM specialist teacher at Montello. And throughout that time as well, there's been many other teachers going into digital technologies or STEM specialist roles in primary schools all across Tasmania as well. So really proud to be amongst that group.
Interesting. So when I recall my school years, it is now quite a long time ago. I recall when we used to do the calculus, geometry, algebra, and stuff like that, and to tend to start thinking that what is going to be the implication in the practical world. So these days, obviously, with the arrival of these AI tools, which I believe have developed quite with a lot of speed over the last 4 or 5 years, there might have been a thinking, or when I talk to the people from our areas, from our part of the world, they think that on these lines a lot, that if you can do all these calculations and even the drafting and the stuff like this from these tools, what is going to be the use of this education moving forward into their practical life? But I believe that these are the tools which relate you to building those AI tools which are going to take the journey further. So you see that people and the kids especially are recognizing this relativity or the practicability of these STEM subjects and moving forward towards the modern world in terms of the education and the AI tools.
I think and a lot of industry and like CSIRO, for example, the projections are that STEM education is only going to increase in importance, and a large part of that is because of AI. There's a good point that you raised about, is this still going to be relevant? And I think, just bring it right back to using tools like the calculator, which I've used and accepted as, being a really important tool for calculations in math. But in order to be able to use a calculator, you have to understand the maths behind it. You have to understand the processes, and that's the same with using AI. It's not just offloading the thinking and everything and having AI do that, but it's using that as a tool to be more efficient and to take our thinking and our work to another level. And AI itself is creating many more jobs in a technical area that does require significant upskilling, particularly in ICT and digital technologies. So we're seeing a future where within the next 5 years, before any of our students in primary school even finish high school and college and move on to university, estimations that over 90% of all jobs will require STEM skills. So no matter what they do, their skills that they're learning in STEM subjects are absolutely critical.
Very interesting. So I believe that one part of your job would be to take the kids into competitions, and the other would be to instill that learning, that belief in themselves that they can achieve greater things when they are working with together with each other. So can you shed some light on what are the kind of the competitions, if at all you are entering into those competitions along with your students? So and any accolades so far which you have won along with your students?
So competitions and challenges have been a real key feature of our approach to STEM education. Some of the big ones we've been involved with for the last 4 years. One of them has been First Lego League, and I've coached quite a number of teams at Montello and now at Parklands, and I've supported other teams to be established across the region. And through my role at GreenSTEM Education, it's now at the point where we're hosting First Lego League regional tournaments, and we've brought that to the northwest coast of Tasmania. So before we started doing that, teams had to travel to Launceston or Hobart. So you're looking at a minimum hour and a half, 2 hours travel, and for a lot of our families, especially if the event was in they were going to Hobart, that's just not feasible. So last year we had 20 teams participate in the First Lego League Burnie Regional. So 4 of those teams I was involved with starting and coaching. We sponsored 8 of those teams through GreenSTEM, and 2 of my teams progressed to the First Lego League National Championship South in Sydney in December, and we supported each of those students and a family member as a guardian to travel to Sydney to participate in the national championships. So we've had a number of teams over this short time achieve really awesome results. Greenpower is another major one. So Montello being the first Greenpower team in Australia, and through establishing GreenSTEM Education, we're the Australian international licensee. So Burnie is the home of Greenpower in Australia. So that program involves teams of young people working together to design, build and race a single-seater electric vehicle, with the opportunity to then travel to the United Kingdom to participate in the international finals as well. So part of a global program that we've brought to Australia, and have our young people involved with that, and the national home being based in Burnie, something that we're incredibly proud of, and already having teams from Victoria and New South Wales joining, and with them planning to travel to Burnie, to Tasmania, to participate in events is awesome, and something that we're looking forward to continuing to build. A lot of other programs as well. A big competition for us is the STEM Video Game Challenge. I've worked with ACER, volunteered for them last year as the national ambassador for the STEM Video Game Challenge. And again, all those opportunities for students to collaborate and work together on these projects is really important as well. So it's not just the STEM skills, but the human skills, the people skills that they develop as part of that translate to anything that they do. And for a lot of students, like, it's the first time actually working collaboratively in a project that they're then taking to another audience and sharing. So to see them so proud of what they've been able to develop and then build on that in following years is great. So for the last 3 years, or 2 or 3 years, we've had 100% of students at Montello from grade 3 to 6 enter the STEM Video Game Challenge. And this year, it's extending to all students at Parklands that are in the digital technologies option are also participating. So a lot of those projects are also entered into other competitions as well, like Raspberry Pi Foundation's Coolest Projects, the Raspberry Pi Foundation's Coolest Projects Global Technology Showcase. So I've had students enter their games in different stages of being finished. It's a great thing about Coolest Projects. It's not a competition, it's a showcase. It's about sharing their learning. So if it's finished or not, it's about sharing the idea and the concept. But we had 2 teams of students recognized as judges' favorites in Coolest Projects in, I think it was 2022. So first Australian students to be recognised in that level, and some of those moments where we played the recording of the live stream back to the class, and never forget the look on those students' faces when they saw their game on that recording, and they realised that they were one of only 4 games recognised. Was incredible, and they were getting certificates and medals and prize packs sent down from the United Kingdom. Those are unforgettable moments. But one of those teams as well, they have their game on display in the Young V&A Museum in London as part of a permanent exhibit for their coolest projects in the design gallery, which is, I was lucky enough to go to the UK for a 5-week STEM study tour last year, and that was the first place I went to, straight off the plane into the Young V&A Museum. And again, really huge career moment to go and see a project that I've supported students to develop as part of a permanent exhibit at such a prominent museum. 18,000 kilometers away is it's unbelievable. But that's what it's all about for me.
You really spoke from your heart, and really appreciate that the way you summarized. It just must be on your fingertips, but it is always coming from your heart. So you talked about the reaction of the students. You might have been interacting with their parents. So how is their reaction, especially the ones who are allowed to go alongside their kids to the mainland and travel with their kids? They must be overwhelmed with this opportunity, with such kind of opportunities as well.
Yeah, so taking the team to Sydney for the first Lego League last year, for a lot of those students, that was the first time traveling outside of Tasmania. And just yesterday, this trip was in December, so almost 3 or 4 months ago. But one of the girls that went on that trip was telling me only yesterday how much she loved that, and now she wants to move to Sydney, and it was the best time of her life.
Very nice.
And to get feedback like that, and we were able to help support. She was also able to spend some time with her mum over there after the competition, and really make the most of that trip to Sydney. But it wasn't just the competition. We arranged for a trip to Taronga Zoo that was supported and guided by one of Australia's leading wildlife scientists, who would Dr. Vanessa Perrotta, who had supported our teams and given them feedback on their innovation projects. So for her to meet the teams personally, and she's helping guide our teams around the zoo. A lot of those animals, she's had some involvement with those animals as they've been raised. So she's been able to give inside information and insight to those students that is just at a level that most people are not going to have that access. And the day before we left, actually, it was the day we flew out. We had a behind-the-scenes tour of the Google offices in Sydney. So just showing students that, that through STEM, it opens unlimited pathways and opportunities, and it can enable them to be anything and to do anything that they aspire to. So that's what it's all about for me.
These must be memories of a lifetime for those students, and well done for that. So talking about the pathway you have developed for Montello Primary School, do you see this now being reflected to the broader region on your part of Tasmania, and perhaps one day all over Tasmania, the way you have worked in this particular region or in particular school? You see this opportunity that this will be established all over the island?
I've definitely got a vision that and a commitment to, especially through my work at GreenSTEM Education, to be providing the very best opportunities for all young people, and connecting schools, community, industry together in STEM education. Something that I'm really passionate about. But there's some really exciting opportunities, especially at Parklands, with the launch of the Parklands Collective STEM Hub, that will be doing just that at the Parklands Collective. So the 5 schools within that cluster, including Montello. to be building a consistent approach to STEM education built around the Greenpower program specifically over the next 3 years. So really exciting program that we're expanding and launching from the start of next term. So really can't wait for that to officially launch and move into the implementation stage. And there's a great opportunity there to really set a model of what we can achieve as a state, because currently one of the major challenges is, largely due to teacher shortages, is that we really lack the leadership in all curriculum areas, but especially in STEM. So often it's just up to schools to use the staff that they have, and everyone's doing the best that they can, but there isn't that consistent connected approach or that leadership from above, as far as this is what best practice STEM should look like. And unfortunately, in a number of schools, it's not a priority, and something that it's there or offered there to be, as I guess, to provide that release time for teachers for them to be able to plan. And as far as what's actually happening in that time, it's not always something that is valued or there's much accountability held to it, if that makes sense. So that's something that I'd love to see more investment and value placed on, and some leadership across the state as far as what best practice STEM looks like, and some connection and collaboration between government, department, industry, education, and community. So something that I'm really looking forward to being a part of. And through I think we've got a good opportunity there through the Parklands Collective project, especially to lead the state, and to set a benchmark there and learn from similar models, especially in Victoria, New South Wales. But I think Tasmania, we always pride ourselves on punching well above our weight. So the same way, I'm committed to us having the very best opportunities, and be world class. That's what I want to see at our Parklands Collective STEM Hub, and through everything that we're doing at GreenSTEM Australia, GreenSTEM Education and Greenpower Australia, is that our young people in Tasmania, despite some of the barriers and limitations and things that we face just because of our location and being relatively isolated, that doesn't mean that that they still deserve access to the very best opportunities, and STEM can help them. I guess it makes the world that much bigger place to them.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So how are your efforts integrated with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? I believe that is also related in some way or the other. If you can just summarize in few words that how do you integrate with that?
So a huge amount of our work is, so especially at Montello, for example, as the STEM teacher, a lot of our projects are explicitly linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. And a really great example of that is, I'm not sure if you've heard of the Microbit Do Your Bit Challenge, but that's a global competition that the Microbit Education Foundation has run for a number of years. So that's something that in my first year as STEM specialist, was really excited about, and we implemented that program. We ran that challenge, and I think that was like one of the first like global recognition that we had a student achieve at Montello. So one of my students was the Asia Pacific champion for the project that she developed. So that year, from memory, I think the goal that they were looking at, they could choose between either climate action or good health and well-being. So she focused that on a solution, microbit digital technology-based solution for anxiety, and a number of other students were looking at like things to help their relatives or grandparents. A large component that was elder care. And that's what so to see students connect that to their experiences and things that they'd seen their loved ones experience, problems that they could directly relate to, I think is really important. And we've continued throughout, following that year. That's been a major focus. So that competition's changed format a number of times. So even though we're not officially part of the Do Your Bit challenge, it's taken on, I guess, a different look for us as we've continued. And so many of our projects have directly connected to the Sustainable Development Goals. There was another year we ran like an innovation challenge, and students had the opportunity to choose from the goals, to research the goals before we even decided what kind of project they were going to make. It was researching the SDGs, identifying problems, and then connecting that. So thinking global and acting local. Like, well, what's a local problem that we're able to develop a solution to? So something that we're constantly making connection to. And as I said, it just adds that authenticity to students, for the students, for them to be able to connect their learning to being able to solve problems. And it's really empowering for them, and it's really inspiring as an educator to be able to see that.
Very nice. So how has receiving the Prime Minister Award affected your work? I am sure that people like me were able to get to you and listen to you on perhaps ABC Radio and the stuff and the rest of the media outlets. But how has that motivated you or given you some jump start which you might have needed? So has that helped, the Prime Minister Award which you won last year?
Yeah, I think so. That's been like, things haven't really stopped since then. They've been pretty busy beforehand, but it's, the Prime Minister's Prize was absolute incredible honour and a really career-defining moment. But I really look at that as an opportunity to springboard the work that I'm doing and take that to another level, and support more teachers and educators, and more importantly, provide the best opportunities for young people, not only here that I'm working with here in Burnie, but through our work at GreenSTEM Education all across the nation.
So how do you manage your time? Out of 24 hours, how are you able to manage all of this? I'm losing, count of all the stuff you're doing. I'm just noting it down. So how do you manage it?
That's a good question, and something that I think over the last year or so, becoming better at consolidating some things and making things more efficiently. Just to stay on top of everything. But we've got a really strong team at GreenSTEM, and currently the work that we're doing at GreenSTEM is 100% volunteer-led at this stage. But for me, I guess if you're combining what you're good at and your job and your interests and really your hobby, if it's all tied up in the same things, I guess that's probably the easiest answer of how I'm managing my time. It's all.
So, are you able to follow the sports other than your work? Are you able to follow? Yeah.
Not as much as I would like or have previously, but so big basketball fan, and rugby league. So Tasmania is very much Aussie rules country. So not many people get that, but being born in Western Sydney, and my dad being from Western Sydney, I grew up and my dad didn't understand AFL. It was all rugby league. So very passionate Parramatta Eels fan, which has been a bit of a struggle, but obviously motorsport as well. So really increasingly into the Formula One in recent years, and grew up very into the supercars category in Australia as well. So obviously there's a pretty, I'd say a pretty notable an obvious connection there through the work we're doing at GreenSTEM with our projects there with Greenpower as well. So to be able to connect the STEM interests to motorsport as well, I think for me, that was always one of the things I was really interested in. And before deciding to go into education, that was probably one of my biggest interests. And my, I guess, high school career ambitions were going to mechanical engineering into motorsport. So I'm kind of, it's in a way, it's coming back full circle, and I'm doing that through education, which I can't think of anything, I can't think of anything more impactful and inspiring for me than that. So I guess, again, like bringing your interests and hobbies and strengths into that, and being able to, be productive and find fulfillment and stuff through that. So
To wrap things up, I heard you mentioning some student feedback. I think that was in one of your ABC interview. So that feedback or any other feedback which you get from students which still resonate in your mind and which motivates you, any strong words from a student or from a parent you'd like to mention?
Yeah, so I think the feedback you're mentioning was a note that a student, I believe it's this feedback, a note that a student wrote about how Mr. Edwards makes things come true that I didn't even realize were possible. So that's one that always resonates with me and forever will. And, for me, that's the best summary of why I do what I do and why I think STEM's so important. And I guess what I want to be able to inspire in all students that I work with is for them to realize things not only about STEM and about the world, but about what they're capable of, that they can make, their dreams and aspirations. They can, things that, they never would have thought of, they can see themselves doing that and achieving that, which is so fulfilling for me. So got a lot more work to do.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you very much for your very kind gesture, for accepting my invite and talking to me for more than 30 minutes, which I promise you will not go beyond that. And hope to catch up with you in some time later when you achieve more awards, some more global recognition. And then when you will have time, I will bother you again, hopefully.
All right, no problem at all. Thank you so much. All right, look forward to meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.